iPhone 16 Pro Max 1 month later. It's been bittersweet. By the end of this video, you're going to find out what I think about this phone after a whole month of ownership. I paid $1,321 for this thing, or $1,321 out of pocket. And I have some bitter things I have about this and some sweet things, so stay tuned. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Let me begin by talking about, was this thing worth the price? And I have some statements about this. Yes, it was worth the price to review it for you guys. Of course, you know, this is what I do. I review phones, so of course I enjoy covering these phones. It's fun to me. Regardless if the changes aren't massive year over year, I still like looking for the little details, the little differences. So, and I enjoy helping you guys out to decide which is the phone for you. However, personally, myself, this is not about me, this is more about you. You're looking for some advice about this phone. I am not personally overly excited about the upgrade myself because the 15 Pro Max was super similar. As you can see, it's nearly indistinguishable besides a little bit more height, a little bit bigger. So yeah, I think it was worth the price if you're not coming from last year's phone. I definitely think it's worth it from the 14 Pro Max because this phone has titanium, it's lighter, it just feels better. Overall, then that product has better battery life, better cameras. So from the 14 Pro Max, yes, but from last year, a month later, I just keep thinking like, well, I'm using basically the same phone, slightly better. Now, when it comes to 1 month later, has it been sweet or bitter when it comes to the body and the size? And I gotta say sweet, because I really do like how they got it even a little bit bigger. You can see it's almost indistinguishable, but it is a little bit heavier and it just feels a little bit more compact on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, although it's nearly a bezel-less design here. 1 month later, though, I have to say that this thing right here, it still feels very big to this day, yes. But the bezels, the only time I really notice them now is if I go back and look at one of these older phones. They kind of disappear and I don't even think about that anymore. So I think it's like really impressive at first, but once you get used to it, you don't even really think about the bezels, but maybe that's because they're not there. That's probably why you're not thinking about them. But I don't really notice this anymore. It's not really a selling point at this point. However, I'm very glad that they went that way because I think because the bezels are so thin, you forget about them. But when you do look at an older phone, you realize, wow, my phone, the 16 Pro or Pro Max, has some ridiculously thin bezels. So I definitely have enjoyed that aspect of the body. I also feel like the body of this product is also pretty durable, but it's not unbreakable. It's not unscratchable. Like it still feels, it's got that fancy, like delicate feel. So fancy, premium, you know it's durable, but you still don't want to scratch it. It's kind of like a nice car, you know, one that's in good shape. You don't want to mess it up. So you put a wrap on it. Maybe you put some paint protection on it. You put a case on this. So you get where I'm going. I still feel like even in 2024, as durable as these gotten, I still don't want to rock this without a screen protector, which I have on here, or without a case. So I do rock a case. The body is durable. It just has that feel like you don't want to mess it up still. Last thing I want to mention about this design is the rounded corners is something I still pay attention to even here a month later. The rounded corners here is something that still tends to feel really nice day to day. I think Apple's phone as well as the Pixels now have the kind of the best feel in the palm of the hand. They really do feel well designed. I'm not a fan of sharp corners, so I really do appreciate this. I also like this feel on like the Galaxy S24 Plus. Okay, now when it comes to the looks, this area I'm getting a little bit bitter about this area. I am. And the reason why is every year it's been looking the same. A month later, I keep looking at this. I don't feel that excitement that I was feeling when like the 11 Pro Max came out, the 12 Pro Max, when they first went to the squared. They're just doing this so long that it's just not exciting. And there's other areas of the phone are exciting. I understand it's mature, but come on. Billions of dollars made on these iPhones. Come on. Let's do something exciting. Like I would, like if I was making the phone, I would definitely be like, yo, you know, I wouldn't probably do it every year. I get it. Not every year, but maybe every 2-3 years. But this design's been around since like basically the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's been 4 years already. So I'm just ready for something radically different. I don't stare at this anymore. I used to look at these phones and just give them a quick look, a quick glance, and stare at them a little bit more. This one, I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is last year. Oh, and this is also similar to the year before that too. So yeah, it's just not, to me, a strong looker anymore. It's become so everywhere. Like, you see this kind of thing everywhere, this phone. It's so recognizable. And while that's a good thing for branding, overall, it's just not a showstopper to me anymore. Like, nobody's looking at my phone with this phone. Like, it doesn't spark any conversation. People have seen this thing. If they've seen one of them, like one of the Maxes, you've seen most of them because they all have that triple camera design, that same similar shape. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. 1 month later with the display, it has been a joy. There is one area though that I'm a little bit like, I think they could improve. That is, I think they need better anti-reflection on here. That was mostly, I brought that opinion upon after my experience with the S24 Ultra. This is a very reflective display by comparison to that phone. However, there's one area that's really good. The reproduction and the color is on point. I love the reproduction. It's very colorful without being oversaturated, undersaturated. They've got this perfectly calibrated. I really like the colors on here. I don't think they have the highest density though. As you get closer to the text, it is not the sharpest. It is 460 ppi, which is great. It's really high, but there's phones like the Pixel that have sharper text. I find myself enjoying those higher 500 plus ppi density displays for reading articles. It's just easier on my eye. I think the higher the density goes, that could be because I'm, getting a little bit older. I'm not old, but getting a little bit older, but still, at the same time, I like the higher density, and Apple's been sticking with this 460 for quite some time. So it'd be nice to see a little bit higher res, but I don't see that happening. I'm just saying that's an area that hasn't really overly excited me. I will say, though, that this phone is really bright, although they could get brighter. Some phones are hitting 1,000 nits higher than this. This is topping out at 2,000 nits. Other than that, the dynamic island still tends to get in the way a little bit of content, but the bezels make this feel like a very nice and wide media consumption experience. You'll see there's plenty of space to read up and down and to side. Feels like a really good experience. The dynamic island, again, on the larger phones is more out of the way, so I don't really get too bothered by it here. At the same time, when you are watching content, it does tend to get in the way a little bit. Although there's no split screen mode at all on here, this display still very, very premium. 1 month later, it's been sweet when it comes to performance. The Apple A18 Pro chip in here, as well as 8 gigabytes of RAM, clocked at 4.03 gigahertz. This thing is an absolute screamer. This thing benchmarks higher than some previous MacBook Pros. As a matter of fact, you could actually run your entire YouTube channel right off of this phone. Super fast renders, super fast, uploads. I could start an entire YouTube, run the whole thing from this phone. Seriously. Cameras are amazing. Camera control button to set it up on a landscape tripod. You could just be like this, press the button, edit the video, hop to YouTube, upload the thing, or hop to Instagram if you do Instagram, upload the photo, X if you do X, TikTok if you do that. Not a fan, but if you do that, you do that. Phone has got it all. It really does. And it's got all the performance to match it. So let's talk about the cameras. First of all, they still stick off the body quite a bit. Not as much as some other phones. Like, I've seen phones with bigger camera bumps, but they definitely are coming off the body there. The camera control button, you would be fooled in thinking that's a Touch ID button. It looks exactly the same, but it's not. I wish that was more programmable. It's not super programmable. But I've been very happy about the cameras here, although I'm not a big fan of the front cameras. I don't like how they make my skin tone look. They get too much detail with all the pores in my skin. But the rear-facing camera here with the 2x, the 5x, the 25 times zoom, it's very versatile compared to before. Although Samsung's still crushing them in the zoom, I'm still going to pick the iPhone all day for video. This thing has got super smooth video, great autofocus. As a matter of fact, it actually has better autofocus than the camera I use for videos here, although I like manual controls, so that's why I still use a studio-based camera. Also, I can monitor audio and stuff like that easier than this. But this does have audio mix, so you can fix the audio. And overall, the camera control button sometimes is useful, although I find it more of a marketing feature than actually useful for everyone. It will be useful to get some video, but I found that sometimes when I hold this thing down, I'm a little bit bitter about the fact that it can actually make my photo look a little blurrier. I think it's because of the shake or the movement you do with your hand versus being much more steady like that. So I've actually done a couple photos and I'm like, why is this blurry? And then I'm like, oh yeah, you used the camera control button. So maybe Apple can do something in a software update to fix that problem. Maybe some post-processing to fix the shake or something on the camera control button. I'm not sure. It's usually going to be by user doing it, but if they could find a way to just sharpen it up so if you're using the camera control button, even if you shake, it still becomes sharp, that would be good. But overall, I feel like with this product, I do have basically a professional camera in my pocket everywhere I go. When it comes to battery life, I'm only at 15 cycles on here after about a month or so. Still at 100% capacity. I'm very sweet about this. This is a sweet moment for me. This is iPhone 13 Pro Max level battery life. So this is really, really good. Lasts all day. And it's actually one of the reasons why that I'm like, I don't even want to go to some other phones now. Like, why would you want to go back to some phones that have worse battery life? So this phone right now is going to stay in my rotation as my main usage just because of that great battery life. That feature alone is enough. If you're a heavy user who goes all day on your phone, this is the one to get. I mean, over all of them, over the Plus, over the regular 16, over the Pro, get this one. This is the one. A month later with audio performance has been pretty sweet. Honestly, it's really crisp at the high volumes and very loud as well, but not the loudest speaker I've ever heard, but it's one of the more clear sounding at its top volume. So when I hit the top volume, I'm not doing it now because I don't want to disturb others around me, but the volume on here is definitely very good and crisp. Although, again, they could probably get a little bit louder, but it's still very clear. So I accept it. It's pretty sweet. And I'm pretty happy about the phone call quality on here, as well as the audio connectivity. It's been really, really good, mostly because of the improved Qualcomm modems. I'm actually noticing much better signal strength. It's just something a lot of reviewers don't talk about, but I'm noticing it. I'm getting bars in places I would never get bars in with my 15 Pro Max. So they've actually improved this once again. Also, Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth, all that stuff is a little bit quicker, not super noticeable, but having this better modem, having satellite SOS, messaging, emergency SOS, crash detection, all of that jazz. Like, man, this thing, you feel like you have a great tool that you don't want to like leave the house without, for sure. This is definitely got a lot of great things on it that could potentially be life-saving as well in the event of an emergency. I've been a little bit bitter about the software. I'm not going to lie to you. Mostly not because they don't have really great software. It's very polished. I enjoy using it quite a bit, but I'm just tired of it looking the same all the time. Like same every year, same. Yes, they added some customization and that is fun to use. And it is the biggest rehaul with customization, but they didn't rehaul the flat UI. Not that they're going to. But this whole like sticking with the same, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's not really my cup of tea. I like to see some bigger changes. I understand like you can't just change everything. That's going to anger some customers, a lot of customers, but we could probably every 3-4 years kind of change the UI look. So it's like fresh. It's kind of fresh here with the new control center, with the new customization. It's fun to use, but at the core, it's still, it's just a little bit boring to me still. So I know there's other phones. If you think it's boring, go use Android. I have Android phones. I'm just saying that I want to see Apple like rehaul this software, just make it look like a totally new software experience. I don't know if I'm probably reaching a little bit. They're probably not going to go there. So my final conclusion with this phone after 1 month, I got to tell you a couple other things. Number one, if you buy this phone and it's kind of warm at first, that's because it's indexing, it's getting all your iCloud stuff downloaded. It takes a few days to really settle into itself. So don't freak out if like you're like, I thought this thermals were so good. The first few days it gets a little toasty. Keep that in mind. As it settles in, the phone never really gets toasty anymore. I don't get that issue no more. It stays much cooler to touch for most scenarios. There are a couple open world games that can really heat this thing up, but it's not that bad. Like the 15 Pro Max was a toast fest compared to this. And then we do have the camera control button, which was something that it's cool, but it's like I could live without it. It's not like the biggest deal to me in the world. I'm a little bit bitter about lack of like adding split screen to this phone. You know, it's kind of annoying. Battery life is amazing, but of course it can always be better. So if they went a little bit larger with the size, we could have insane battery life on this. Like if they went 5,000 plus milliamp with the same optimizations, this could be even bigger battery life. It's just, to me, it doesn't feel like they're head and shoulders above the competition anymore. They just feel like a really great top contender within the space of the vast ocean of Android and Apple smartphones. So, and they have a lot of other options that they're competing with their own selves for. So like Apple competes with their own other products, which is good for them. But at the same time, I just think we need something a little more exciting. We're getting to that point. I just can't see myself being really, really excited with another phone like this next year. So this is like, I feel like this is on its final run. Like they need to really rehaul this thing to get us a new radical change. It's time. And I think that that statement, I think people are feeling that. I see it a lot in the comments all over YouTube, and I see it all over the internet that people, while they're still happy with the phone, it's a great phone, nobody's like overly excited or saying, oh, this is game changing. Like we need something like that soon. So that's just my personal take. So you can see overall, after a month, it's bittersweet. There's some bitters, there's a lot of sweets. Is it a great phone? Yes, on a scale of 1 to 10. As a phone itself, objectively, I think it's about a 9 out of 10. Really, really up there. So that's it. That's what I got to say about this one after a month of ownership. Let me know your thoughts on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, 16 Pro as well. And stay tuned. I got my upcoming iPhone 16 Plus honest review. I haven't done that one yet. I'm still working on that one. I have to give myself a little time with these phones before giving the review. So stay tuned for that. And we got more content coming for the rest of this year and heading into 2025 with the S25 Ultra. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.